Game over, man. Game over. Johnny.
You're gonna need a big approach.
So serious.
Roll out.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Gold. I'm Erica Richards, and I have two very special people with me today. We're going to talk about South by Southwest, so I will let them introduce themselves.
Hi guys, I'm Shadan Larkey, Erica's esteemed co-host. Greetings from Austin, where I have gone from staying on one friend's couch to another friend's couch because I just refuse to leave this city. And I'm so excited to talk about South by Southwest. A crazy year this year, but especially I'm so glad that our guest was able to join us. I messaged you about coming on the show, and I was like, fingers crossed that she says yes. So tell everyone who you are, because you are spectacular, and I can't wait for them to get to know you.
Oh, well, thank you for that incredible introduction, Shadan. That's so sweet. I'm Alejandra Martinez. I'm a film critic based in Austin, Texas. And yeah, I'm just coming off of South by as well, just kind of regained my bearings after the long week, but excited to chat about all the great stuff we watched.
Yeah, I was so sad I couldn't make it to South by this year. Last year was my first year, and I loved it, and I really loved Austin. That was my second time in Austin. So Sean, I completely understand why you're not ready to leave yet. So it's good that you have so many friends there. I need you to move there so then I can be the friend that's
I know, right?
on your couch.
I will. Don't worry. I need to find a way to get over here one way or another. If it kills me, I need to come.
Okay, so tell me about your South by experience this year. What was it like? Let's just start with what was your favorite movie and why, or however you guys want to kick it off.
So Alejandra, I'm so curious to hear about your experience, because I feel like my South by felt really weird this year. Like, it felt like in the beginning it just wasn't as crowded, or there just weren't that many people there at the beginning. Like when I went to pick up my badge, it took me 20 minutes, where last year I was in line for 3 hours. And then I just felt like as the festival progressed and we got into the Emily Blunt, Ryan Gosling, Fall Guy, and there was bigger titles at the end rather than the beginning, and it felt like the energy kind of built progressively as the week went on, where that's usually not the case. And I think I messaged you a couple times because I was really struggling with my schedule. I just didn't know what to fit in. I felt like I missed a lot of things that I wanted to see. I just didn't make it to things. And I given that I went to college here and lived here, know this city pretty well, but I just couldn't figure out how to get where I needed to go in time. It just was very disjointed. And poor Erica, we were trying to record our Oscars episode, and she's like, what does your schedule look like? And I'm like, I have no idea. It was a very strange festival. But I will say my favorite of the festival was Sing Sing.
Ooh,
nice.
That's one I'm really looking forward to. That's one that was definitely on my list for an episode that we're going to have coming up, which is what are we really excited for. So why was that your favorite?
So here's the thing, and I really want to dig into this. I think there's a level of festival hype, and when you're in the room, you're kind of more tempted to be a little bit hyperbolic, myself included. This is not shade at anyone. I'm very guilty of this myself, of you just feel so lucky to be in the room where it happens. And I think we get swept up a little bit. And just based on everything that I'd heard about Sing Sing, part of me was okay, is this festival hype? Is this critics that have seen it early and sort of want to anoint something early, right? But Sing Sing for me completely lived up to the hype. Coleman Domingo is incredible. And I think I mentioned this on previous episodes. I'm doing this thing where I try to go into movies not knowing as much. And I really didn't know that much about it other than Coleman Domingo, how great he was. And I just love the story. I love that the director was there. And we were at the same screening, but he just spoke about it with so much passion. Yeah, I love this movie. And I think any buzz that you have heard about it is completely warranted.
I don't think you're guilty of being part of the hype. I mean, having, only one South by experience, the energy in the room, in the theater, for anything is
Yeah.
like nothing I've ever experienced before. Like, it is the coolest feeling. And yeah, I think like sometimes it can sway how you're feeling in the moment, but I don't think that really takes anything away from the experience or the actual film, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there are definitely movies that I know if I were to watch them in a like by myself at my house or like in a regular theater environment, I would not have liked them as much as I did watching them at South by Southwest.
Shadan, was it Bottoms last year that we saw together? And it was like people were laughing so loud.
Mhm.
I was like, I can't even hear what is being said because people were laughing so loud. And it was like, I've truly never experienced anything like that in a theater before. It was unreal.
Bottoms and oh my gosh, there's another movie that was like that too that I just loved it so much because of the audience. Let me think.
Was it Flaming Hot?
That one, yes. Like that one, I
Yeah.
know if I was watching it, like, and don't get me wrong, I liked it, but I feel like if I was watching it like on Hulu, I'd be like, okay, this is cute, but like
Yeah.
I loved watching it like with the crowd.
Yeah, that was for
Right.
me last year too. Like Flaming Hot was I had so much fun. I loved it so much. And but I also think like I felt different about it because all of the actors and like the real life people were like literally 2 rows behind me in one section over, and I was just like that was also like enhancing the whole experience. So yeah, festivals, I mean, only having gone to one, really, it's just such a cool experience. So yeah.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
about you? What was your favorite one?
Yeah, so there was a lot to see, and this is actually, I feel like what you were saying was pretty true, Shadan. There was like kind of like maybe not a disjointedness, but certainly an unevenness and like kind of a almost chaotic nature to
Yeah.
this year's South by for me. I mean, this is really my first South by where I had a badge and I was able to like kind of be more legit because last year I was lucky enough to have PR contacts and was able to get into screenings that way. But yeah, it was still a great time, and I think Shadan, you stole my my pick because Sing Sing is also up there for me. But another movie that's really stuck with me has been The Idea of You, which is the closing night film. Um, and you know, I'm trying. It's like I'm so excited for it. I'm excited about it, I should say. And like I really loved it in the moment, but also there's a part of me that's like, was this festival brain? But at the same time, I mean, Anne Hathaway, the talent is undeniable. Like she could make anything work really, and I think the whole crux and the reason that movie works so well is the chemistry between her and Nicholas Galitzine. It was like, yeah, Shadan understand. Yeah,
Even me, just only having seen the preview, I am so looking forward to this one, and it's getting such good reviews. I was so excited to talk to you both about this because, and having known that you both have seen it, I am dying for this one. I can't wait. I also am obsessed with Anne Hathaway. I think she's incredible, and she's one of those that like can do no wrong for me. So I'm so excited to hear you say that was like the one that stood out to you.
Okay, I need to talk about The Idea of You because
yes,
first of all, again, I didn't know anything about this movie other than it was like kind of based on Harry Styles fan fiction. But like what stood out to me is first of all, it is a very steamy like the chemistry is palpable. It is steamy, but like no one is taking their clothes off. Like the steam is purely like flirtation and like I mean there is like a but you know what I mean, they're like clothed, like it's not showing anything. It's not like you're watching like True Blood or something where people are like fully naked. So like the fact that it was like as sexy as it was while still kind of being tame was super interesting to me. And like I've never watched sex scenes with like 1,000+ people. So that was like a complete first for me, and like it was just so interesting to be like squealing with everyone around. And yeah, I love The Idea of You, and this is something that I really want to dig into with this episode. I think it's really strange that there were a lot of movies that came to South by Southwest that are going to be on streaming. And it's like really disappointing to see like just the incredible reaction, and like I feel like The Idea of You would absolutely make money. Like people would show up for it in a theater.
Is
So
it
like,
not getting a theater release at all?
I don't think so. I think it's straight to
I don't
Amazon.
think so. Yeah.
What?
So like I want people to have that theater experience because as much as I do love it and I don't think it's festival brain at all, like I think if you're just watching it at home, it's not the same. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry to say that, but it just I
No,
love
absolutely.
Do we think it's because of the genre that it's going directly to streaming? What do we think?
I think it's just that's what our industry is, right? Like it's just everything because
Yeah.
even Jake Gyllenhaal's Roadhouse, like that's gonna be on Amazon as well. And like that got a great reaction. Did you get to see that one?
I did not, but I saw a lot of the tweets and like post screening reactions, and it seemed like it played like gangbusters, which is like another bummer.
It played really well. I mean, it's not my typical genre. I found it to be like excessively violent and just I don't know. I wasn't crazy about it, but again, it was really fun to watch it with an audience and have people like cheering for Jake and cheering for Jake being shirtless and all this kind of stuff. And I feel like if you don't have that part of it and you're just watching it home alone or whatever, like on your couch, like, I don't know. And I think maybe that's I wonder if part of the weirdness for South by this year was having a lot of titles that were going straight to streaming. So maybe you feel like, why do I need to show up for this screening if this title is going to be streaming a month from now? I don't know. It just, that's so disappointing. And
Is
like,
that not getting a theater release either? Why am I thinking they're getting some type of theater release, even though they are Prime and I know that they're going to Prime, but I was thinking they'd get like a little bit of time in the theater.
I mean, they're probably getting a New York and LA like Oscar.
Yeah.
But like, are they going to show up in Houston at my local AMC? No.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny, that was the one movie that my boyfriend wanted me to ask you about because he's like in his Jake Gyllenhaal era and he is like so excited. He wanted me to ask you about it and I'm like, oh, I don't think she liked it, so I'll have to get the full review. So
I mean, I think your boyfriend would like it because it's a dude movie. Like, if I liked, watching like gorgeous women and like dudes getting punched and bloodied, I think I'd be a bigger fan. But I was just, but I mean, I think Jake's chemistry is doing a lot of the heavy lifting on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, to that point, it's like easier to recommend because you are just gonna be watching it on your couch. You know, like if you were having to pay $30 to go see it, I'd be like, well, no, that's not worth it. But if you're just gonna turn it on for a Friday night at home, then like you could watch worse things than Roadhouse.
Right. No, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. So do we think, okay, so either of the two that have been mentioned, The Idea of You and Roadhouse, do we think any of them have any potential in any award conversations for anything?
No. Maybe like the MTV Best Kiss Award, like The Idea of You is coming.
That. Yeah. Absolutely.
So no, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, in a perfect world, I feel like Anne Hathaway would be up for like lead because I feel like rom-coms are just such a hard comedy in general, right? But like rom-coms specifically are such a hard genre to play and to play convincingly, and she just like she did it. She knocked it out of the park.
I'm ready for her to bring the rom-com back. I love a good rom-com.
Like Comedy Globes could be like maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. I mean, I'm excited and I'm gonna watch it either way. So, you know.
No, it's a lot of fun. I think to go back to Sing Sing, I mean, I just Coleman Domingo, like I know a lot of early predictions like have him in there, and I would love to, because a lot of times, again, like sometimes you have something like Past Lives that does really well and kind of maintains the momentum all the way through, and then sometimes you have something like Cha Cha Real Smooth that like has all this crazy momentum out of Sundance and then completely flames out. But if there's any justice and if the awards gods are listening to me, like I would love to see Sing Sing like maintain this, because that performance is just extraordinary. And by the way, not just his performance, but like the actors, the supporting actors are incredible. Like a lot of those actors are formerly incarcerated. They like at Sing Sing themselves, and like they just bring so much incredible depth to these roles. Paul Raci is amazing. Like the script is so good. I mean, if I was an like awards body voting member, I would vote for that like up and down my ballot.
Yeah. Okay. So give me like
Same, yeah.
give us like a little bit of like 2 sentence like summary about what it's about without giving anything away, because I've seen this, and like you said, I also have been trying to not really dig too deep into films that I know I'm going to see, because I want to go in like as cold as possible. But just give us a little bit about like what's it about and like why was it so good.
Alejandra, I'll let you go because I've talked enough about
No, you're good. So yeah, Sing Sing is based on a true story about well, it's based around this program called Rehabilitation Through the Arts that's active in Sing Sing and in other prisons, where prisoners are encouraged to put on full-fledged productions of plays. And so Sing Sing in particular follows Coleman Domingo's character. I'm blanking on his name right now. I believe it. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Divine G, who is a real person. Also, as far as I know, the majority or like all of the people in this movie are based on real folks, and some of them are playing themselves, which, like Shadan mentioned, is another layer to this beautiful movie. But yeah, we kind of follow his journey as he navigates his way through Sing Sing and like navigates this next play they're about to mount, which is like a musical comedy drama. It's very interesting.
Sorry, really quick. I have a question really quick. Who are they performing for? Are they just like performing at the prison for themselves, or like are they actually performing like in the world for audiences?
I believe they're performing for other incarcerated folks, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like this great, I don't know, it's just this beautiful rumination on healing through art, and also like creativity as a place where resilience can be built up. It like Shadan said, it does live up to all the hype, and I really hope it maintains the momentum it has right now, because there's so many deserved performances. Specifically Clarence Macklin, who's the kind of co-lead / like main supporting player in this, is incredible. Like blew me away. And Sean Dino Johnson also, who is playing himself, also like has some standout moments in his supporting role. Just it would be great to just see that kind of like honest and like transformative really work rewarded. So I'm rooting for it.
No, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because yeah, I want Coleman to maintain his momentum, but I hope that it also like kind of transfers to other members of the cast as well, because it's such a good ensemble, especially this year that we have like the casting Oscar that's coming into play. Like this would be perfect for something like that.
Oh yeah.
So yes, watch Sing Sing. I need to talk about the Fall Guy.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this one. Yeah.
I also had a very hyperbolic reaction to that movie, but I 100% believe that it's earned. I had so much fun like with Fall Guy. I laughed so much. It's so silly and funny and cute, and like Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have amazing chemistry, and there was like so many surprises, and I just loved how it honored stuntmen so well, and just Ryan Gosling being in his like fun movie star era, like comedy era is so amazing. And again, I don't, in terms of awards, like I could easily see him picking up like a comedy Golden Globe nomination for maybe Emily too, but I really love this movie. And I think what really stands out to me about The Fall Guy is it's like the kind of thing that you could recommend to your mom, your brother, like go watch it with your partner, and I feel like everyone would have a great time. Like I know when June hits, like I am 1,000% gonna pay to see it, and my butt will be seated in the theater. Like I'm so excited for more people to see it. I had a blast with that movie. I love it.
That's awesome. And honestly, again, I've seen nothing but good things, and maybe it's all coming out of South by Southwest and again, the hype of it all, but I don't know. I feel like that's one that could easily people could bring it down for whatever reason. And just like the idea of you, I'm seeing all good things coming out of it. So that like just gives me so much like optimism and hope that I'm really gonna love, and I'm easy to please in those senses, right? In those like fun movies, but still like it's just so fun to see, you know, I think a lot of times, especially as critics, like we're expected to be like always watching all these like serious art movies. And like we love those things too, but like we love like an action comedy rom-com thing, you know, fun, like the movie should be fun. And it just seems like a lot of things that are coming out right now are fun. Were Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt there?
Yes, that was so
I would have died. I would have
I'm
died.
so jealous.
yeah. And like they were so close to where I was sitting, it was crazy. Like they were like 10 feet away. And I'm happy to
Yeah, if you have pictures, you need to send me pictures, please.
Yeah, I need to, I'll spread my photos. But like no, and they were equally as like charming and attractive as you would think. Like it was so cool seeing. And like Ryan Gosling came out on stage and he was like, I'm not gonna sing for you guys, and people were booing him and stuff, like wanting him to sing.
Oh
and
my god, I love it.
so that was one of my favorite like actory moments. Like one of the major highlights was just getting to see them in person, and like the charisma was like radiating from the stage. It was so cool.
Oh my
And
god, that
go
was
back to the
so
idea
awesome.
real quick. One of my favorite things about that was just seeing how emotional Anne Hathaway got, like from the reaction, and she was just like, I'm never gonna forget this screening. Like she was like kind of in tears just seeing people embrace the movie so much and how much fun they had.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I did see like a picture of her. Is there a plane going by or something?
I think so. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just heard that. My bad.
You're good.
Sorry about that.
I saw a picture of her like up on stage, and like just like a pull quote about her saying, you know, that she feels really lucky and like excited or something to still be making movies like this that are fun, and she's not going to pigeonhole herself into doing things that are, you know, or picking movies or roles just because of her gender or because of her age or because she's won an Oscar, and you know, like, and that was really really cool to see. So
Yeah. One other movie I wanted to talk about was Monkey Man, which actually won the audience award for like the headliner section. And Dev Patel was there. This is his directorial debut. Did you see that one, Alejandra?
I missed that one actually, and I'm so like, oh, I'm so jealous about it.
So this was such an interesting one because like it's such a star. I mean, he's obviously a huge star, but like to see him in action mode was so interesting. And like I was like, he kind of feels like he could be James Bond. Like it was just, and he this is just gonna be a huge moment for him. It's again very violent and very visceral, but unlike Roadhouse, it feels like earned, and it feels like the violence really serves a purpose. And I love the color, I love the action, love the way that it's choreographed. I love that it's like steeped in South Asian mythology and kind of surprisingly like touches on the politics of India and the caste system and all of that kind of stuff. So I feel like for an action movie, it has a lot of depth, and you can tell it's coming from a real like personal space for Dev Patel. And it's, you know, maybe again, I'm not the target audience, but there was just so much that I could appreciate about it. And I hope that people support it. And it's coming out through Universal on April 5th, I believe, is the release date. So I hope people show up for it because it's like exactly the kind of original vision that I want people to support, and I want it to make money. And originally it was going to go to Netflix, and Jordan Peele kind of rescued it from the Netflix. And I'm really glad that it's like getting a theatrical release. And Jordan Peele was also there, and he like introduced Dev, and it was amazing to see that somebody like a man who's not a white man is having his directorial debut like being supported in this way and getting a big reception. Just made me really happy. And I really love this movie, and I think it's such a like strong, just for a directorial debut, is so strong and confident. And I'm a big fan. I really hope people watch it. And I think you'll come away from it like something is going to grab you, if that makes sense. Whether it's like the story, the action, the look of it, like there's just something that's going to appeal to you no matter what your sensibilities are.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've seen good things about that too. And I'm a fan of Dev Patel, so like that's one that really wasn't on my radar until I saw some stuff coming out of South by about it, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know this was happening." And now it's on my list. So hopefully if nothing else it ends up on other people's lists too.
And
Yeah.
Alejandra, what about you? Because I know we saw some different stuff.
Yeah.
So what are some stuff that you've seen that you want to highlight?
Thanks. Yeah. Well, actually, I ended up watching a lot more documentaries than I anticipated this time around, which, I always love a good documentary. The one that really stood out for me was The In-Between. It's this documentary film about Robbie Flores, who's a filmmaker from Eagle Pass, Texas, on the border between the US and Mexico. And it's about her coming to grips with the passing of her brother by going back home and trying to recapture like memories that she had with her brother through like making this movie. And so it's like this really great, almost experimental but not inaccessible like documentary about grief, memory, time passing, but also what it's like to grow up in this really specific pocket of the world, and a pocket of the world that like I grew up in because I'm from Laredo, Texas, which is also on the border between the US and Mexico. And so like I feel like I was primed to love this movie, but also it's just always beautiful seeing that a filmmaker can capture the feeling of a specific time and place and what it's like to be like a teenager there, and like translate it and make it universal. I don't know. It feels like a really like it just felt like such a great act of like cinematic like alchemy or something, just kind of creating the sense of time and place for people. I'm like, oh, like this is what it was like hanging out in my parents' kitchen in like 9th grade. Like she got that. Like it's really special. I would encourage folks to check it out. I believe it's getting distributed through like PBS, like Independent Lens. But yeah, the In-Between really stuck with me. And what else? One movie that has stuck with me, but that I feel like I'm still sorting my feelings out about is Civil War, the Alex Garland.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I feel like it was Shadan. Did you get to see this?
Yes, but I'm gonna wait and I'm gonna let you go first because I have a lot.
No, that's fair. Yeah, so I saw this at South by, and like I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like still not prepared for what happened. And I feel like I still don't know how I feel about the movie as a whole, although there were aspects that I like. So I can give like a brief spoiler-free summary. But basically, it takes place during like some kind of future civil war in America. But the people that we're following are photojournalists, so war photographers that are tasked with like documenting what's happening, right? And so it kind of turns into this really interesting, harrowing road trip movie, but through like this America that's fallen apart and like kind of crumbled. And I really loved the sound design because it is so loud and so like it is relentless at times, but I feel like that's appropriate given the subject matter, right? Although I was like shaking like a small dog after the lights went up in my screening. The cinematography is great. It's shot beautifully. I love the central performances in this with them by Kristen Dunst and Kaylee Spaney and a few other folks. But I don't know, the messaging of the movie is where I'm really like stuck on, or like I guess I'm still like sitting with and sorting with. I don't know how much more to say because I don't want to really spoil anything, but it's something that I've been wrestling with where like the craft and like the construction behind it is so like impressive and like bowled me over, but I don't know if the actual thing, like the meat of the movie, is really gelling with me.
Oh my gosh. First of all, I'm sorry that I'm fidgeting. I'm sitting on my friend's bed and she has like a bedding, so I'm like sliding off and I keep having to pull myself up. So sorry. I am really struggling with Civil War as well because I didn't like it at all. and I'm a huge fan of Alex Garland, so I went in with like a complete open mind, and I really wanted to like it, but the more I sit with it, the more I don't like it. And I completely agree with you, Alejandra. I think it's well made, and like the sound design, all these things that you mentioned, I completely agree. But it's, I think the trailers are incredibly misleading, and it's a very apolitical film, and I don't think you can make a movie called Civil War in this day and age and have it be apolitical. That really bothered me because I feel like the messaging of the film is very empty. And I think we have seen a lot of hype on it, and there was a lot of positive reactions, but I think that's because I think this is a generalization. I think this movie will appeal more to white people than it will to people of color. And I think because it's based on photojournalists, a lot of fellow journalists can appreciate it from that perspective. But I just don't. I think there's other movies about journalism that are much better. I don't think it has anything to say. I think there's a lot of moments that are for shock value it's just like, oh, look, if we blow up this American institution, like what. I don't think it's earned. I think a lot of things are not explained, and we're sort of thrown into what's going on. And I can appreciate that a movie, like, you want the audience to make up their own mind or whatever, but in this case, again, it just doesn't feel earned. I think a lot of journalists would not behave the way that the journalists do in the film, to the point where it's like distracting. There's some things that just didn't make sense to me. I also think, like, I wonder if an American filmmaker telling this story, if I would feel different. Like, maybe it feels void of emotion because it's like this isn't Alex Garland's country. So I don't. It just really did not work for me. Like, I don't know if I've ever had a reaction like this strongly disliking a movie that I've seen at a festival before, and then I like get on Twitter and people are praising it, and I swear I felt like I was having a stroke. Like, I was like, I did not watch what these other people watched. But I'm a huge fan of Kaylee Spaney, but like her performance also felt very stilted to me. The dialogue felt stilted to me. There was moments that I feel like were supposed to be emotional moments that didn't play that way for me. I understand that it's well made and like the visuals are cool, but even the visuals just felt hollow. Yeah, and again, I understand movies are subjective, and if you decide to see Civil War and you like it, good. I mean, any movie that gets butts and seats in theaters, great. But this just did not do it for me. And again, I think I will just say that the trailers are a little bit misleading. For sure.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because I think the apoliticism is what I'm struggling with as well. It's like, you can make something like this, but then also like not really say that much, maybe. It's like frustrating, especially right now. And yes, the trailers are like nothing like the actual film. I was kind of like really taken aback by that.
Can I ask a question? So is the apoliticalness of it all because the movie doesn't take a stance, like the story doesn't take a stance, or is it trying to make you decide, but doesn't really give you any substance?
I think I would say the movie doesn't take a stance aside from like war is bad, which, that's a legitimate point, but also like, so little about the actual conflict. You're not really told a lot about like why. You're just kind of like thrown into the middle of it. So there's like not a lot of context either, which maybe might have been helpful for thinking through like, okay, well, what is this movie trying to say? If it is trying to say
and I think
something.
If I knew more about why it was happening, it would also make me care more about what was happening. But I was just like, okay, America's being destroyed. I don't know. Yeah.
It sounds like there's a lot left on the table with it.
Yeah, I also wondered about that because at the screening, Alex Garland, like he mentioned that he was like working on this for a really long time. So I guess he maybe might have written it before the insurrection. So like maybe if I had seen this movie 4 or 5 years ago, I would feel differently. But to have it kind of mirror certain events without actually, I don't know. I still am very much processing it. And maybe I might feel a little bit differently if I saw it again. But I know that I dislike it enough where I wouldn't. It's not like I'm gonna go from one end of the spectrum to the other, I guess, if I rewatch it again. It's just very strange. And like I said, the fact that I felt so strongly one way and then to see people on Twitter like calling it a masterpiece was just so confusing. And I don't begrudge anyone, but it was just a very strange thing of like, I don't know.
Well, at least hopefully you two validated each other. It sounds like you guys are on the same page. Which is always nice.
Well, I've heard a lot of, I think it is just like I've heard people being like, I love it or I didn't like it. Like I haven't really heard anyone like in the middle about, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Was there anything else that you saw that you kind of felt like left something to be desired or you're still feeling kind of unsure about? Is there anything that maybe like you were excited for and disappointed you?
I think I definitely have an answer for that. Immaculate.
I was
curious.
Saw that one.
Did you catch that?
I did see it, but I want to let you talk about it because you're the horror genre way better than I do.
Thank you. Just wearing a Halloween shirt. But no, I think it was one of my more anticipated titles at the fest. So like I went into it, I was like, cool. I love a religious horror movie. I love like a nuns going crazy movie. I'm like, this has all the ingredients to be like maybe one of my top films here. And then the actual thing played out, and it wasn't awful, but it wasn't what I expected. I feel like the runtime, it's like 86 minutes, I would say, kind of gets in the way a little bit because the pacing's a little all over the place. Sometimes it's moving really quick. In the first half, it feels like it kind of takes a while to really get anywhere. And then the ending, which I actually liked and thought was like, okay, well, like this is leading into some of the more like insane or like deranged influences that it's trying to draw from, like stuff like Suspiria, stuff like The Devils. But by that point, I was just kind of like, okay, well, I guess I was expecting like a home run, and then it ended up being more uneven for me than I expected. Like there were things that I really liked, and like, but also things that I was just like, can we like speed it up and like get to the point, or like get to like what like get to the substance of this? I don't know. What did you think, Shadan?
I think everything you said, I'm like, yeah, like I can see why she feels that way. I liked it just because I don't watch very much horror, and like I kind of just gave myself over to it and was like, I'm gonna go wherever this takes me, and like I had fun with it. Like there were some moments that were so weird and like, so yeah, I had fun. But do I think it's like a masterpiece by any means? No. But I think like if you're just looking for a fun horror movie where you can kind of turn off your brain for a little while, like I think you could do worse, you know?
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
Because I had no expectations, but like I don't think it's. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely flawed. Also, can I say, so did you see it at the main screening?
I did, yeah.
Okay, we need to talk about, again, this is, maybe I fell into the festival hype with this one because they had these, like, nuns that had, like, faces, like, this red face covering, and it was so creepy.
Wait,
creepy.
nuns, like, just at the screening, or...
Yeah. Like actresses that were dressed up in like the nun outfit, and then they had red things on their faces, and they had these nuns that were like holding these lit candles, and they came down the side of the Paramount Theater, and they came to the front, and there was like a nuns choir, so they were like singing before and I was like, then they came and were like seated right behind me the whole time I was watching the movie. So I think they did a really good job of like setting the mood. And I do think Sydney Sweeney is like very good in it. Like I think if they had a different actress that I didn't like as much, I would probably like that would affect my overall thoughts about it. But yeah, I think like again, if you're going to see it in a theater like late at night, I think you could do worse. Like I think you would like it enough to justify paying the $10-15 to see it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Sorry, just really quick. I was just gonna say Sydney Sweeney is like the strongest part of that movie. She like carries it, honestly. So
Is that an A24 film?
And Neon?
No, Neon.
Neon.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
a Neon.
okay.
Yeah, release.
I think Sydney Sweeney as a producer is really interesting. Like that's kind of be something that I'm really watching for because she did this, she did Anyone But You. So I'm kind of like, okay, I think she has an interesting eye. Even if it like doesn't work completely, I like what she's going for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one that I don't think I'm like running to the theater to see it, but I think it's like Friday night, rainy Saturday afternoon, like, oh, I'll watch it at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Did you see Cuckoo with Hunter Schafer?
I did not. I missed that one too, and that was on my wish list, but I couldn't.
That's another one where I'm like, I liked it. I love Dan Stevens. Like I thought it was such an interesting leading showcase for Hunter Schafer. Like I would love to see her do more lead roles because she really did a lot with what she was given. But that's another one where I'm like, not really a masterpiece, not bad, kind of middle of the road horror. Tries to do some interesting things, but maybe doesn't stick the landing all the way.
Yep.
What's that one about? I haven't heard about that one.
It's about this girl who her mom passes away, so she goes to live with her dad, and I think he might be like an architect or something, so he's building this resort, but there's like weird stuff happening at the resort, and it's like science fiction-y horror, and then Dan Stevens is like the owner of the resort. So she starts working for him, and she starts to kind of see these sinister things and figure out like what's going on.
Okay. What is there anything that like was like a sleeper for you that you hadn't heard of and you ended up checking it out and really loving it, or anything we should look out for that we might not be tracking if we didn't go to the festival?
Yeah, there's a couple that I want to mention real quick. I'll try to be quick, guys. But
take your time.
One was We Were Dangerous, which is like this really tiny, and I think it won the jury award for best director. It's like this really tiny movie set in this like this school for like unfit girls in New Zealand, and it's just like these girls that are constantly being told like, oh, there's something wrong with you, but they're just trying to have fun and like live their youth and do the best they can in like these terrible circumstances. And I thought it was really sweet and really well made and just beautiful. And it's really stayed with me. Like I keep going back to it and thinking about it a lot. So I really liked that one. I saw this other movie called The Black Sea, which is about this guy who goes to Europe because he finds this like sugar mama on the internet. So he goes to Europe to hang out with her, and then he gets there and she's dead. So he like loses his passport and he's stuck there. And he's trying to figure out how to get home. And I didn't know anything about this movie. Like randomly went and sat down and saw it. And I thought it was fun. Like again, I don't know.
Is it a comedy? It's meant to be a comedy.
Yeah, but it has a lot of heart to it. It's hard because I think I'm just somebody who appreciates movies so much that even when I see a movie that I know is not 100% and there's flaws, and I'm like, well, I could pick it apart, but like in the moment, I just enjoyed being in that environment so much that it's like, you know. And then 2 documentaries, because I do think South Africa is such a strong documentary showcase. And all of the trigger warnings apply for these. These were not easy watches, but I think it's important. One is Role Play, which doesn't have a distributor right now, but it's set on Tulane University, and they have, you know, these statistics about the sexual assault that happens on campus, and these students decide to put on a play kind of based on their own experiences around consent, you know, all these things. And I was just really moved by it. I think it's really interesting to have these conversations like the college students from their perspective of like, I went to this party and this happened and I don't know how I feel about it, you know. And have like students of color, LGBT students kind of all coming together to put on this play. It's really interesting. Again, I don't know when it's coming out, but if that's something that you have interest in and the subject matter is something you feel like you can handle, I really recommend watching it just because again there's something, it's like on my chest or something. It's like I just can't stop thinking about it. And I think it's really interesting, especially like having gone to UT, and like that was such a big conversation when we were here, but that was also like 10 years ago. So to see people are still struggling with this, and sort of seeing how the new generation is struggling with it and how things have evolved or haven't evolved is a really interesting conversation. And I hope that more people take the time to sort of engage with the topic, but also this documentary when it comes out. And then another one, again, just such heavy subject matter, is The Truth versus Alex Jones, which is coming to HBO, and it's about how the parents of the Sandy Hook kids kind of came together and sued Alex Jones for all of his horrible defamatory conspiracy theory garbage that he was putting out there. And it was devastating to watch. It destroyed me. It was probably the hardest watch of the entire festival, just watching these parents talk about their children and losing them, and then to have to be the subject of all these conspiracy theories and the awful way that they were treated. It's hard, but I think, again, if you can watch it, which I hope that people can, but it's like, I think we need to have these conversations of like, what is it about our society where we are so susceptible to these conspiracy theories, where at one point, like 25% of the population was believing that Sandy Hook was a hoax. Like, why are we, like, what are we doing wrong? Where's the disconnect? Why are we so quick to believe somebody like Alex Jones? Why does he have a platform? Like, I think it raises all these really interesting questions. And being in an election year, like I just, this is something we need to engage with. So hopefully, being that it's going to be on HBO, people give it a watch.
Yeah, I'm so glad you both are talking about documentaries, because I am a documentary nerd. I love documentaries, and I saw so many good ones at South by. And it is, Sean, you're right. They're so hard to recommend to people because you're like, this is horrible and it will destroy you, but it's such an important story that needs to be told and heard. And I'm glad we're talking about it, even though it's one that I'm like, God, I don't even know if I could bring myself to watch that one. But again, hopefully people will, right? Like, especially those people that need to hear it, that 25% or whatever at one point in time, they all need to watch it. It's like, these are, that's why I'm just always so moved by true stories, powerful stories that are told in documentaries, because like, I also feel like documentary production is different than like regular filmmaking, and there's just like a different appreciation for it. And I just love that South by does such a good job of representing these types of stories at the festival, that I'm so glad we're talking about it now. So were there any other documentaries that either of you saw that you want to mention?
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually have 3 other documentaries that I got to see that were
Yeah.
really good. There's An Army of Women. I'm not sure who the distributor is on that one yet, but it's interesting because it also has like a local Austin bent. So in 2018, a group of sexual assault survivors sued the county, the city, and the police department for for misuse, or for like basically botching their like cases or not handling them properly. And so this is another one of those documentaries that's an extremely hard watch, but I think very important, because you follow this group of women from like 2018 up until 2022 or 2023. And I think it just does such a good job of showcasing how like slow and frustrating the legal process is, and just important, like an important conversation to think about how sexual assault cases are handled in this country, because it's not an isolated incident. This happens everywhere, unfortunately. There's also Preconceived, which is another kind of heavy doc. I'm not sure about the distributor on this as well, but it's like an interesting investigation into pregnancy crisis centers and their whole grift in, promoting themselves as medical care centers, when in actuality they're just like ministries that fearmonger and rope unsuspecting pregnant folks into doing something they might not otherwise do. So that hit especially hard in the wake of Roe v. Wade falling, and the documentary touches on that a little as well. So it's certainly like it's like a relevant watch. I mean, it's relevant always, but I think especially now.
Yeah, it's timely.
Yes, timely. Thank you. And on the less heavy side of things, but a doc that charmed me, and I don't think has a distributor yet, surprisingly, is Diane Warren, Relentless. It's
I didn't get to see that. Okay, tell us more.
Yeah, no, it's so fun and like interesting because I didn't know much about Diane Warren going in, aside from, she always shows up at the Oscars with a song nomination, and she's like a really prolific songwriter, right? Those are like the two things I knew about her going in. But this doc really just embraces her unique, like chaotic, I guess, brand of energy and like runs with it and like lets us into her world and her perspective, but also like showcases her struggles as like a person and an artist. And I really appreciated that because beforehand I'd just be like, oh, Diane Warren, I guess I kind of know her, she's always at the Oscars. And now I feel like because of this documentary I have a fuller like understanding and like a fuller picture of who she is. And it's also just it's like an entertaining watch, also a moving watch, to hear her talk about her struggles, overcoming her sexual assault and her and getting diagnosed with Asperger's later in life. And it's just interesting. Yeah, things that like I wouldn't have known. And also just like the scale of her, like, because I knew she was prolific, but I didn't know how prolific. But apparently she's written over like 450 songs, I think. And songs that we've like all heard before. And that was like, oh my God, that was her. And that was her. And like, it's wild. It was really great. I would recommend. And I'm surprised it doesn't have a distributor yet, because I could see this playing easily on Max or Netflix. Like, this would be such a good like streaming doc to just put on and like learn something new or learn about someone who's maybe been a public figure for so long. But
how much does it touch on like the Oscar nominations and like the lack of the win? Like, did she talk about that?
Oh yeah. There's a whole section about that, and it's also like, it's like it's kind of funny, right? Like, because she's always showing up, but also at the same time, it's not, because you get to see like what it's like from her perspective. Like, you get to watch. I think it's the 2022 when they announced the 2022 nominations. Her like kind of watch party, and like her friends are there. Everybody's excited. She has this group of people rooting for her. And then when she doesn't get it, that's like crushing to watch. So I think it makes that a little bit more personal as well. They do show her getting her honorary Oscar as well, though. So yeah, it's pretty expansive.
That's cool. I kind of hate that we make Diane Warren like the villain when she gets nominated. It's like she didn't choose to get nominated. And also I got to interview her and she was really sweet. So I hope
she was
really nice. And like, so I'm team Diane Warren. I'm really sad I missed that one. Alejandra, was there anything else? Because like I said, I know you got to see, I feel like you got to see some really cool stuff that I didn't. So is there anything that we haven't talked about?
I think I guess there are two more movies that I wanted to spotlight. There's Kneecap, which premiered at Sundance, but I missed that. So I was really happy when I saw that it was screening here, because I was like, yes, finally. And oh my God, that did not disappoint. It's about this, it's like a semi-fictional, it's like a fictionalized band biopic, basically, because there's a real life hip hop group named Kneecap from Ireland. And the thing that sets Kneecap apart from other groups is they rap in Irish, like Indigenous Irish. And so this movie is like kind of a fictionalized like comedy drama about how they came together and stuff. But it's also a really interesting like examination of like language as like a way of resistance, and also like the preservation of Indigenous languages and how that can be done in ways that aren't like maybe as stuffy or as like hard as people think. Because like you have this group, this trio, and there's only like I think a couple thousand Irish speakers in Ireland, but they're making it accessible to like anyone who likes their music, which I think is really cool. So yeah, that was really great. And another one that I liked was Doing It with Lily Singh as the lead. That is kind of like a classic, like raunchy, like sex comedy. So the premise is Lily Singh is playing this sex ed teacher who is actually a virgin. And so the movie is about her kind of trying to navigate teaching this class, but also trying to navigate her own like hangups and maybe like issues with like embracing her own sexuality and like the roadblocks that happen for her as like a South Asian woman. And I thought that it was really funny. There were some like, there's a lot of jokes. Not every joke lands, but it's still like so enjoyable and a good time. I feel like this would be a great like watch it with your friends on a Friday night, like kind of movie. Like go to the theater, or like if it ends up on streaming, like check it out on Netflix, and, like have a bottle of wine. Yeah, it was a good time.
First of all, now I want to see both of those because I didn't get a chance to see them. So they sound great. I wanted to mention, and I'm curious, Alejandra, if you have one, but like this random moment of the festival that stands out to me that has nothing to do with the movies. So they have at South by Southwest, like before every screening, they'll show you like clips from the previous day. And one of the days, like the package that they played was very pro AI friendly. Which, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Ton of AI at South by Southwest. I felt like every talk was centered around AI. They had a lot of AI experimental stuff. So they're playing this package, and I saw 3 movies that day, and the boos were like shaking the Paramount, like each and every time. People were like, F you, like all this stuff. It was crazy. Again, that was a festival first. I had a couple festival firsts this time. One was like hating a movie that I saw, and the other one, and the sex scene with 1,000 people, which was also first. And also just seeing people like boo the heck out of this theater. And like, it was so uncomfortable. I mean, it's also funny because it's like, why would you play that for a room full of creatives and writers and all? But it was just funny to see people have such a strong reaction to this, like, AI. And then the next day's package, they had Daniel Kwan, and he was like talking about how he was like nervous about the future of AI. Like they were trying to course correct and show.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That was so funny. That's gonna be a standout moment that I will remember for a very long time.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm glad you
before. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, Shadan, because I was gonna ask, like, is there anything like not movie related that you wanted to talk about from South by? So I'm glad you brought that up.
Did you have anything, Alejandra, like that? Like just
Oh yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think just yeah, that was definitely it. That happened before my screening of Immaculate too, and I was like, okay. And I had heard about like the previous booing situations, so I was like, I wonder if they're gonna keep playing that. And then they did, and I was like, all right, well, there you go. I think outside of movies, I think again just being able to like see the actual folks who worked on the movies, whether it be in like a Q&A at the Alamo or like having the whole cast watching the movie with you at the Paramount. It's something that like never gets old for me, and is also like kind of it's kind of stunning to see like just how charming and like great these people seem like in real life. I don't know. I'm just always a little starstruck, I guess, when
the thing for me at South by last year was like they seemed so accessible. Like I wasn't getting to them, right? But it's that thing where you're like, oh my God, they're right there, and they're like in the audience with us, and they're so accessible. And it's like you said, you're a little starstruck, and you're a little like, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to watch that person, or am I supposed to watch the movie? Like it's so like it's like pulling your attention, like seesawing it. I don't know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's why I brought the Anne Hathaway thing up, because it's like, I think we forget that these are real people, and they pour so much time and energy into these projects. And so to see them like get emotional from the reaction and see like all that hard work pay off and how excited they get, it's like, or, just seeing them like joke around with their co-stars, like the way that we would joke around with each other. It's like so interesting. And one other thing that I will mention too, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Alejandra, because it's so true. but like also the fact that like the costume designers get to go, the production designers get to go, and they get to see their name. Like one thing that happens in a lot of screenings is like people will cheer for the producers, people will cheer, you know, and it's, like, it's so cool that they get to have that moment. And Amy Williams, who did the production design on The Idea of You, I've interviewed her a couple times over the years, and she's so sweet. And like I was messaging her, and she was like, "Did you see that reaction? Like it was so cool." And I just love that not only do the movie stars get to have these crazy experiences, but also people behind the scenes. And
yeah, that's my favorite part too. Even like you
Absolutely.
said, like you know, the like production like logo will show up and everyone will scream and you're just like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Like you don't even know who they are, but you just know that they're excited, and that's a really cool feeling.
And I mentioned role play, like that was the directorial debut for that director, and I got to kind of chat with her afterwards, and she was so like you could just tell that meant so much to her to have her directorial debut at South by, and all the students that were in the documentary were there, and like they were kind of taking it in. Like I went to the bathroom after the screening, and a couple girls were in there just like freaking out, like the girls from the documentary, and they were kind of freaking out and coming up like down from this high, and it was just so cool to like see people celebrate like such a, I know that again I'm cheesy and sentimental, but it's so cool to see people celebrate like this amazing milestone and get to be a part of it. Really
Well,
special.
yeah, that and just like their hard work too, right? Like you work
Absolutely.
so hard on something for so long and you dedicate so much to it, and then like that feeling of like finality of and like showing it to the world. Oh my god, like yeah, you're on a high. Like it's incredible.
Yeah. It's really rewarding, and I don't think it's cheesy at all. It's so like cool getting to see like people get their flowers in real time.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. Yes.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, is there anything like last minute things you want to mention or shout outs of any films, or was there any like TV series that premiered? I know last year Love and Death, like they should premiered the first like 2 episodes or whatever, and I really loved that one. Was there any TV series that premiered?
There were, the only one that I caught was Netflix's Three Body Problem, which is like the new one from the Game of Thrones guys, I guess.
Mhm.
I liked it. I mean, I'm probably gonna watch all of it just because it's gonna be on Netflix, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see South by kind of transition to a film and TV festival, because right now it feels like the TV titles are a little bit thrown in there. I wonder how that's going to change as it grows. But yeah, I don't really have much to say about the TV side of things.
Yeah, same. I unfortunately didn't get to check out any of the TV stuff, but I agree. It's interesting to see it kind of like take shape, and you know, who knows what next year will look like.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about too, is like what, because I can kind of spot a South by movie, but I'm like, what makes a South by TV show is going to be really interesting. And I hope they expand. I mean, I know they did have like a few things, but I hope they expand the TV lineup and make it like a true celebration of TV and film. So
Yeah, last year I think it was also Swarm. I remember Swarm. Those are that and Love and Death were like the 2 TV ones. So I wanted to make sure to ask because I wasn't sure.
If you guys still haven't seen Swarm, I'm such a big cheerleader for that show. I freaking love that show. It's so good.
I ended up binging it back at my hotel room during South by Southwest. Like I watched the whole thing. It was like I could not take my eyes off. I couldn't stop watching it. I don't know. It was wild.
Nice.
Yeah. I think to circle back to the sort of chasing the gold of it all, South by is such an interesting thing because, like, obviously we had Everything Everywhere All at Once, and also the Andrea Riseborough, like, To Leslie, that was in the same year. So that was such a big year for South by in terms of awards, and sort of after that, it made me think, like, is this something that South by is going to try to do more of? But I feel like last year there weren't really awards titles. This year, again, other than Sing Sing, which was a Sundance premiere, nothing really stood out to me. So I'm kind of interested, what is the future? Are they going to try to go for more awardsy titles? Like, I'm very curious what they do with that, because I could tell that having Everything Everywhere All at Once be like the South by being the launching pad for that really meant a lot to them. So I'm kind of wondering, like, are they going to chase that a little bit more? I don't know. Alejandra, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting because I remember last year attending screenings post the Everything Everywhere All at Once win and seeing the bumper like congratulating everybody and being like, okay, is this the start of like a new kind of era, or like is South by going to become something to watch even more closely? Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes, and it's hard to say right now. I feel like there are like like I really want Sing Sing to carry that momentum. But it feels so early too to like, yeah.
Yeah, just I mean, on the tech side of things, like I could see Civil War picking up a sound nomination, or Monkey Man, I think could pick up, who knows, sound, or and then and Fall Guy too could maybe pick up visual effects. So I think like there are some things that could be tech contenders in addition to Sing Sing, but I'm just really interested to see how South by continues to warp because it's grown so much. So I would say, like, if South by isn't on your radar, it should be. Just because, if nothing else, the stuff that comes out of there is really interesting and weird. And yeah, I love South by. I love Austin. Hence why I don't want to leave. So.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is, like, I do feel like South by has such a broad range for me, like from what I see coming out of other festivals. Not that I've been to other festivals, but just what I see coming out of them. I do feel like South by has like range on its side at least. So yeah. All right. Well, Alejandra, where can we find you and your work? Where can we follow you?
Thank you. Yeah. I write for the Austin Chronicle, Letterboxd Journal, The Wrap, a couple of other places, and you can find me pretty much everywhere on social under the username at MTZXALE. Yeah.
Awesome. Shadan, where can we follow you?
I'm at Shadan Larkey. I have a couple of interviews coming out, and I need to do a big festival recap. So thank you guys for sort of talking through everything, because I've been able to organize my thoughts a little bit. But yeah, I'm at Shadan Larkey.
Yay! And I'm at eRock Reviews. And you can follow me there. And I just want to say thank you both so much for allowing me to chat with you about South by, even though I couldn't make it this year. It was such a fun experience last year. I'm glad to still live a little bit of it through you both. So thank you so much for allowing me to chat with you.
We'll get you to come back next year and do like a trio.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
That would be so fun. So fun. So yeah, thanks again. And we'll catch you next time on Chasing the Gold. Thanks for listening.